all coming in this news bulletin with me, Darlington Moses, and now the news in detail. President Salva Kiir Mayardit has dismissed South Sudan's army chief and made sweeping changes to several key ministerial positions in a series of presidential decrees last evening. In the decrees read on the state-run TV South Sudan Broadcast Corporation, Kiir removed General Dao Atur-Jong from his positions as head of the South Sudan People's Defense Forces and reassigned him as a technical advisor in the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs. The president reinstated General Paul Nang Majok, who previously held the role before being dismissed in July. In the cabinet, Kiir appointed Dinei Jok Changor as Minister of Wildlife Conservation and Tourism. Changor previously served as governor of the Jonglei State and leads the South Sudan United Movement, or Army. Kiir assigned Rizik Zakaria Hassan, the outgoing wildlife minister, to lead the Ministry of Transport. He replaces Dr. Lama Cole, who had held the transport portfolio since May. Dr. Akol is the head of the National Democratic Movement and Secretary General of the South Sudan Opposition Alliance, a coalition that is part of the revitalized peace agreement. In a separate decree, Kiir revoked the appointment of Benj Gideon Mabor as Minister of East African Community Affairs just one day after naming him to the post. The president appointed Piang Deng Kwal to the positions instead. Kwal previously served as Inspector General of Police and as South Sudan's ambassador to the African Union. The United Kingdom and Norway has warned that South Sudan's limited peace progress has decisively reversed and demanded urgent dialogue and responsible leadership to halt renewed civil war and stop the transitional government from seeking another extension. British Ambassador David Ashley issued a dire assessment during the 4th Arjamek Extraordinary Plenary Meeting on Tuesday, October 7th, citing the collapse of the permanent ceasefire, resurgent armed clashes, and the detentions of key opposition figures as evidence of the failure. The joint statement directly addressed the status of detained first Vice President Dr. Riek Machar, the main opposition leader, whose positions is stipulated in the 2018 peace deal. Machar was suspended and detained in March following violence in Nasser County and is now facing proceedings in a special court. The two nations emphasized that the transitional government's legitimacy is rooted in the peace deal, cautioning that unilateral dismissals or detentions of political opponents without consulting peace partners undermines peace and risks further conflict. The ambassador flatly declared that the permanent nationwide ceasefire has effectively collapsed. They noted that the two main signatory parties, the government's SPLM and Machar's SPLM-IO, are engaged in regular armed clashes in at least 4 states and are previously publicly referring to each other as enemy. Ashley urgent appealed for an end to the fighting, warning that the resurgent conflict has already caused thousands of lives and displaced hundreds of thousands of people. He insisted it must stop now if South Sudan is to avoid renewed civil war. The diplomats also issued a separate economic warning, stating that their continued support for key financial oversight committees is dependent on South Sudan demonstrating the transparent and effective use of its own resources. This is iRadio News, and now before the international scene, the National Constitutional Review Commission has announced plans to soon advertise vacancies for the Constitution Drafting Committee. The announcement comes as the NCRC simultaneously launches a nationwide civic education and public consultation campaign aimed at gathering citizens' views across South Sudan. John Natana Abraham, the NCRC's Secretary General, confirmed that 7 member teams have been dispatched to 4 states: Lake State, Northern Bahr el Ghazal, Eastern Equatoria, and Western Bahr el Ghazal, to gather feedback and ensure an inclusive process. Honorable Natana announced the upcoming advertisement for the Constitution Drafting Committee, which will be responsible for preparing the first draft of the permanent constitution. The Constitution Drafting Committee will comprise of 15 members, 12 South Sudanese nationals and 3 non-South Sudanese international experts, all selected for their expertise and experiences. He explained that the committee's primary role will be analyzing and consolidating the wide-ranging views collected through the ongoing civic education and public consultation exercises into the comprehensive constitutional draft that reflects its people's aspirations. This is iRadio News, and now to the international scene. Ethiopia has accused Eritrea of preparing to wage war against its coalitions with an opposition grouping in the latest sign of escalating tensions between the two neighbors over control of the Red Sea. Ethiopia's accusation is contained in a letter sent by its foreign minister Gideon Timotheus to United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres, warning that the coalitions had become more evident over the past few months. Eritrea has not yet commented on the letter, but its relationship with Ethiopia has been increasingly strained in recent months. Ethiopia has been rallying support to regain access to the Red Sea, causing alarm in Eritrea as it took control of the coastlines at independence in 1993. And finally, Somalia is to introduce Swahili, the lingua franca of East Africa, to its national curriculum, the president has announced. English is used as the language of instructions for most subjects nationwide at secondary schools, with Arabic the only compulsory second language taught at the moment. But the president Hassan Sheikh Mohamud said Swahili should also be the language taught in schools and universities, making the declarations at the summit of the East African Community that is taking place in the capital Mogadishu. Somalia officially joined the 8-nation regional trading bloc last year with the intentions of boosting economic growth following 3 decades of war. This is iRadio News, and now to end this bulletin, let's have the recaps on the top stories once again. President Salva Kiir Mayardit has dismissed the country's chief of defense forces and announced changes across several government ministries in a series of Republican decrees last evening. The United Kingdom and Norway has warned that South Sudan's limited peace progress has decisively reversed and demanded urgent dialogue and responsible leadership to halt renewed civil war and stop the transitional government from seeking another extension. And the National Constitutional Review Commission has announced plans to soon advertise vacancies for the Constitution Drafting Committee. That's the end of iRadio Morning News. If there's a story or an event you'd like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 925 287 870. It's also a WhatsApp number. Follow us on X at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page at iRadio South Sudan. Follow our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for news in Arabic at the top of the hour. I am Darlington Moses. Thanks for listening.